Can we tell that on the air?
Okay, no, please don't talk about that.
Oh, please, whatever it is, I want to hear it.
That's a great Terry Francona story.
Oh,
Okay.
Well, can we tell him?
Yeah. We don't know if we can or not.
Joining us now,
It's a funny
publisher and
story.
editor of Crane's Detroit Business, Ron Fournier. His book, Love That Boy, is now out in paperback. Great book. We have a piece of paper here
Yes.
with Ron's thoughts on them.
Really? Just
well
one
as
piece
a
of paper?
really interesting-
All of your thoughts can be contained on one single piece of paper?
On a business card, usually.
It's a small list.
Formerly nicotine
a small
stained
list.
hands. All right, Ron. You
And
say
then we have
Ron. And by
Charles
the way,
Krauthammer, which I'm going to read.
it's great to have you here, and you have 8 thoughts from Trump country. Number 1, don't forget why he was elected. Why was he elected?
There we go.
Because most of this country desperately wants change in politics. And this election, if you remember, was about people's hunger for change versus their fear of this particular change. And that itself, that dynamic has
Hunger for Crane, too.
We all have a hunger.
business.
Crane's Detroit Business.
Absolutely.
Yes, exactly.
So you remember, Joe,
Great hunger.
when I came back here after spending the summer in Michigan a couple
Yeah.
years ago and said there's something going out there, it was because so many people in Michigan, up in Trump country, Macomb County, places like that, would say, you know, that Donald Trump, he's crazy. He's crazy, but he's pissing off you guys in the media. He's crazy, but he's better than those Democrats. He's crazy, but he's better than those Republicans.
And that leads
So
to
this, just real quick, that erraticness that people are criticizing you for now, that was baked into the cake with a lot of people.
And that leads number 2, why he survived when other normal politicians haven't.
That's my
He
point.
has said things that have been so shocking. Our hair, I'll just say my hair,
Yeah.
has been on fire. Going, okay, they can't still be supporting him after what he says about a judge or what he says about the press or what he
Shooting
says.
someone on Fifth Avenue.
Shooting
I mean,
someone.
what? What?
And, you know, there has been some fall off over the past couple weeks, but at least for the first 50 days or so, I was like, they're like, no, this is what we expected.
This is him.
No,
Look at-
this is him.
there's a lot of reasons
You
because-
guys in the press are freaking out. We're good with it.
When you vote for a guy after saying he's crazy, but I really want disruption, then when he comes back and is leading in a way that is a little bit erratic, maybe even a little bit of crazy, that's kind of baked in the cake. What a lot of Americans want out there, and these aren't all bigots, they're not all stupid, they really want disruption, and they're willing to take a risk on a guy who they think is crazy, but.
Do you sense what I sense when I talk to Trump supporters, which is that he's got a very long leash with them? I'm talking about his core of support. So all these contradictions we talk about all week, we've been saying, well, he used to believe this, and now he's saying this. They're kind of giving him a pass for the most part on it. They like what he represents, which is the change he brought to Washington.
Yeah, they didn't elect him with a list of policies. They made a gut-level decision that this is a guy who's going to bring change to a system that they desperately want change. Now, we still have to look at this outside of the political system.
Of course.
We have to look at the fact, what does it say about a man who's making these kind of about-face flip-flops in a short period of time? A man who we know really hungers adulation. You know, and is it really a healthy thing in the country to have a president who's rooted in sand and thirsty for applause?
But Ron, here's the question I have, which is, I think to me it's the big question that arches over everything. He got elected with 46% of the popular vote. He's right now in the high 30s according to most approval rating, right? Most of the approval opinion polls. You can't do big things in America if you have the support of between 39 and 46% of the electorate. How do you balance still being true to the core base that is, as Willie said, very patient with him, but also he's got to expand that group of supporters. He's got to get more people who didn't vote for him if he's going to get big things done.
Right, that's the question. That's why we do have to get beyond this, why he hasn't lost his base, and
right,
why they're not going to go away, because he can't lead this country. He can't change this country. He can't bring the kind of positive change we need in this country unless he figures out how to get beyond that 35, 40%. And he's done very little to do that, I think, even in this last week.
Oh, I see a shift. Here's what Charles...
Do you think he shifted in a way that's going to bring people on board who have been so afraid of him that they would rather have the status quo?
I think he's there. Look, there's obviously so much that could happen tomorrow, so I'm not sitting here being duped. But I think this could be, if he wanted it to be, a very, very new start for him. And if he surrounded himself with the people he's been surrounded by this week to make the decisions he's made, and followed through on them in a methodical way without lurching, and then use the advice of Adina Powell and Gary Cohn behind the scenes, and maybe Reince, but nobody else, I think, yeah.
But you know,
I think,
Mark Halperin Mark, I hope you don't mind me saying this. We had a phone call last night. This is a very private phone call. I hope you don't mind me saying. Actually, no, this part
Oh,
isn't
no.
private. But
All right.
what Mark said was he needs a Henry McMaster of domestic policy. If he has somebody like that can help him push legislation through, then you do have a full package. And if you listen to the people that you've picked on defense and then have people in domestic that know how to get a health care bill through, because it's not impossible unless you don't have people in there that aren't McMasters of domestic policy. And there are people out there that can say,
And
this
there's
is how
a
you
few
get your
in
bill
there.
passed.
That's very possible, Joe, and Mika, what you're saying is possible. I'm saying when you look at the full breadth of his career,
I know.
and certainly the campaign, there's not a lot of reason to hope that
Believe
all of a
me.
sudden
Right.
now he's got an internal compass, an
To
internal
use
rudder.
Trump's words himself, believe me, I understand. I'm just
I
saying we
bigly
can't
doubt.
lurch at everything.
And tomorrow is Saturday morning.
Oh, the scariest day in America.
The scariest day of the week.
Here's what Charles Krauthammer writes, Washington Post, the great reversal for now. The world is agog at President Trump's head-snapping foreign policy reversal. He runs on a platform of America First. He renounces the role of world policeman. Then last weekend, Assad drops chemical weapons on rebel-held territory, and Trump launches 59 Tomahawk missiles into Syria. This was in part an emotional reaction to images of children dying of sarin poisoning, and in part seizing the opportunity to redeem Barack Obama's unenforced red line on chemical weapons. Whatever the reason, moral or strategic, Trump acted and effectively reset his entire foreign policy. This is not to say that things could not change tomorrow. We've just witnessed one about-face. With a president who counts unpredictability as a virtue, he could well reverse again. For now, however, the traditionalists are in the saddle, and U.S. policy has been normalized.
So, Mark Halperin, Steve Bannon was one of the people arguing against the strike in Syria. The White House, and particularly Donald Trump, view the Syrian strike as a success for him. Does that mean that the Steve Bannon, sort of the nationalist, America first, let's think about home before we go out and worry about our interests abroad, if there are them, in a place like Syria, is that gone? Is the Steve Bannon influence out the window, at least on foreign policy?
Well, I think on foreign policy, the goal here, I think, was twofold, and I think the long-term play is, in theory, get to America first, but it's to shake up the board, pick up the board that they inherited from Barack Obama, and just shake it up and watch all the pieces move around and hope that some good comes of that. But I think it also was to project strength, to acting in one part of the world, to project it everywhere, to make everybody think twice about what the president will do. Is that America first? You could argue that it is. And I don't know that the economic nationalists in the White House who care about immigration, who care about jobs, who care about small government, I don't know that they care much about these foreign policy issues as compared to the domestic ones.
You know, one of the things that used to enrage me so much about Bill Clinton, but also made me understand, made him so dangerous as a political opponent to the Republican Party, was the fact that he just didn't play by anybody's rules.
Yeah.
He was not bound by the same rules that politicians with a shred of dignity were bound by. And that allowed him to go anywhere, anytime. Donald Trump, you say he's not rooted in anything. Why is Ari calling in
I
the
don't
middle
know.
of the show?
He's okay.
Oh, God.
I was gonna make it
Seriously.
bold, but
Come on, Ari.
Does he not know you're
You
live
are.
live
You're
television?
live on
I think-
TV.
I
This
think
is
he
your
ha-
business.
I
You
think he
should know
wants to
this.
share an opinion.
Yeah, okay.
Put him on speakerphone.
At the
I
break.
will.
Yeah, I know. By
the way, it's also 3
We have a 7-second delay. It's okay.
But anyway, it makes him dangerous, but it also at times can be used as an effective weapon too, because he doesn't play by the same rules as everybody else.
Franklin Roosevelt was extremely erratic and unpredictable and duplicitous at times. Ronald Reagan had these traits. Lincoln had these traits. I'm not comparing.
I know, but
him to these men,
I
but
need to
there is-
stop here because you said something. I cannot say this person's name, but one of the most respected names in Washington 4 months ago told Mika and me, again, we were talking about how's he going to be as president? And he said, you know, I met with him. He reminds me a lot of the books I read about Franklin Roosevelt. We almost fell out of our chair because he said, Roosevelt changed his story to whomever was in a room. He loved having people attacking each other, and while they were attacking each other, he moved forward to what he wanted to do. And he said, same, I'm not comparing him to Roosevelt, but the management style is chaotic like that.
There is that similarity. I want to just address one thing real quick that I think we're overlooking a paradigm shift here. We talk about civilian control in this country when we're talking about foreign policy. We always expect our president and the civilians around the president to be the check on the military. We're talking now that we're hoping that the military is the check on a somewhat erratic president. That's a big shift in the way we look at foreign policy and military action in this country.
Yeah, by the way, Mika also.
No. So you better call Ari. So Ron Fournier, thank you very much.
Thank you
in
so
our
much,
next
Ron.
hour,
Yeah. Your segment was going to be a couple minutes
special
longer, except
correspondent
Ari's
Tom
calling.
Brokaw
Except
joins
Ari
us.
called, and also everybody, hey, bloggers, here's your headline. Ron Fournier compares Donald Trump to Franklin Delano.
I am toast.
getting a
I am
new
shutting
deal.
down my Twitter account right now.
And good luck getting back to Detroit.
And to,
Tom
and to
Brokaw
Jesus.
joins us with his take
At least I
on
didn't go
this
where
week
Schweitzer went.
of major political whiplash. We'll be right back.
Thanks for checking out MSNBC on YouTube, and make sure you subscribe to stay up to date on the day's biggest stories. And you can click on any of the videos around us to watch more from Morning Joe and MSNBC. Thanks so much for watching.